Millions were watching live when everything went horribly wrong. From news anchors collapsing mid-broadcast to performers facing tragedy on stage, these are the TV moments that turned into nightmares before the world's eyes. Stay with us, because some of them were never aired again.
Number 11. Ayrton Senna's fatal crash at San Marino Grand Prix. May 1, 1994, Formula One was racing at the Imola circuit in Italy for the San Marino Grand Prix. The weekend had already been marked by tragedy. Driver Roland Ratzenberger had died during qualifying the day before. Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian three-time world champion and one of the greatest drivers in racing history, was leading the race. On lap 7, approaching the high-speed Tamburello corner, something went wrong with Senna's Williams Renault. The car failed to turn and went straight off the track at roughly 190 miles per hour. It hit the concrete wall with devastating force. The right front wheel was torn off and smashed through Senna's helmet visor. Television cameras captured the entire crash from multiple angles. The impact looked severe, but racing fans had seen Senna walk away from spectacular crashes before. This time was different. Medical crews rushed to the scene and worked frantically to save him. Senna was airlifted to Bologna's Maggiore Hospital, where he was pronounced dead 3 hours later. The racing world was shattered. Ayrton Senna wasn't just a great driver, he was a global icon, especially in his home country of Brazil. His death was broadcast on live television to millions of viewers worldwide. The footage of the crash was replayed endlessly on news broadcasts. Fans struggled to believe that someone who seemed almost superhuman in his driving abilities could be killed in his race car. Brazil declared 3 days of national mourning. Senna's funeral was attended by over 3 million people. The broadcast of his fatal crash forced Formula One to make dramatic safety improvements. Cockpit designs were strengthened. Track barriers were upgraded. Medical response procedures were enhanced. The regulations that followed Senna's death have made Formula One significantly safer. No driver has died during a Formula One race weekend since. Senna's legacy extends beyond his incredible driving talent to the safety improvements his death prompted, ensuring that tragedy witnessed by millions on television would at least prevent future deaths. Number 10. Christine Chubbuck's final broadcast in Florida. July 15, 1974, started like any other morning at WXLT in Sarasota, Florida. Christine Chubbuck was hosting her usual talk show segment, covering local stories and community news. She was 29 years old, a dedicated journalist who took her work seriously. That morning, she told her news director she had a scoop about a local shooting. 8 minutes into the broadcast, after a technical issue with the film reel, Christine did something nobody expected. She looked directly into the camera and said, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you are going to see another first, an attempted death." Then she pulled out a revolver and shot herself behind her right ear. The gun was hidden in a shopping bag under her desk. She collapsed forward, and the broadcast cut to black as the technical director switched to a movie. Christine died 14 hours later at a hospital. This was the first death ever broadcast on live television. The station owner immediately ordered all footage to be destroyed, and it was never aired again. The tapes were given to her family, who kept them private. What drove Christine to this final act? Friends later revealed she struggled with depression and felt intense pressure about the direction of television news. She hated how broadcasts focused on sensationalism and tragedy instead of meaningful stories. Her last words were a direct criticism of this trend. The incident shocked the television industry and raised serious questions about mental health support for broadcast professionals. It exposed how the pressure to deliver shocking content was affecting journalists themselves. Decades later, people still debate whether her final act was a protest against tabloid journalism or simply the tragic end of someone who needed help but didn't get it.
I have a question for you. First, I would like to say that it is possible to follow the greatest curiosities of our world every day. But to do so, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So, are you already subscribed? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Also, take the opportunity to like the video, so YouTube will recommend more videos from our channel. So leave your like right now. And now that you have done that, let's go!
Keep your voice firm, serious, and informative, with a light, neutral emphasis on important facts. Use a balanced pace and make yourself sound like an expert guiding a journey of knowledge. Number 9. Steve Irwin's fatal stingray attack caught on camera. September 4, 2006, the world lost Steve Irwin, the enthusiastic Australian known as the Crocodile Hunter. He was filming a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest at the Great Barrier Reef. Steve was snorkeling in shallow water, shooting footage of stingrays for what was supposed to be a routine segment. Cameraman Justin Lyons was with him, capturing everything underwater. A large stingray, feeling threatened as Steve swam above it, suddenly whipped its barbed tail upward. The barb pierced Steve's chest, directly striking his heart. Justin later described how Steve immediately knew something was catastrophically wrong. They pulled him onto the boat, but Steve was losing blood fast. The barb had caused massive internal damage. He died within minutes despite desperate attempts to save him. The entire incident was captured on the underwater cameras they were using for the documentary. The footage showed exactly what happened in those final moments. After Steve's death, there was intense public interest in seeing the video. News organizations wanted to broadcast it. Fans wanted closure. But Steve's family made a firm decision. They obtained all copies of the footage and destroyed them. His wife, Terry, and best friend, Wes Mannion, personally ensured no copies survived. They believed Steve wouldn't have wanted his death to become entertainment. The decision sparked debate about public interest versus family privacy. Some argued the footage had educational value about wildlife dangers. Others supported the family's choice to keep those final moments private. What made Steve's death particularly tragic was the irony. He had worked with deadly crocodiles, venomous snakes, and dangerous animals for decades without serious injury. But a creature most people consider relatively harmless killed him in seconds. Stingray attacks on humans are extremely rare, and fatal attacks are almost unheard of. The incident reminded everyone that wildlife is unpredictable, no matter how experienced you are.
Number 8. The Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island. February 20, 2003, the rock band Great White was performing at the Station nightclub in West Warwick, Rhode Island. Local news cameraman Brian Butler was there filming a story about nightclub safety for WPRI-TV. The band's tour manager set off pyrotechnics as part of the show's opening. The sparks ignited flammable soundproofing foam on the walls and ceiling. Within seconds, the foam was engulfed in flames. Butler's camera captured everything as the fire spread with terrifying speed. His footage showed the initial sparks, the crowd's confused reaction as they realized this wasn't part of the show, and the desperate rush toward the exits. The fire spread across the ceiling faster than anyone could react. The foam produced thick, toxic smoke that filled the club almost instantly. People were trampled in the rush to escape. Many became trapped in the main entrance, which created a deadly bottleneck. Butler himself narrowly escaped, continuing to film from outside as the entire building became engulfed. His footage showed people still trapped inside, screaming for help as flames consumed the structure. The whole building burned in less than 5 minutes. 100 people died in the fire, and over 200 were injured. Many survivors suffered severe burns and smoke inhalation. Butler's footage was broadcast on news stations across America and became crucial evidence in the investigation. The video clearly showed how quickly the fire spread and how inadequate the club's safety measures were. The station nightclub had only 4 exits, far too few for its capacity. The soundproofing foam was not fire-rated. The pyrotechnics were used without proper permits or safety precautions. Multiple parties were held responsible, including the band's tour manager, the club owners, and the foam installer. Butler's decision to keep filming during the disaster was controversial. Some praised his journalistic instinct to document an important news event. Others criticized him for filming instead of helping. Butler himself struggled with guilt and trauma from that night. The footage remains one of the most horrifying examples of how quickly disasters can unfold, captured entirely on camera for television broadcast.
Number 7. The Vietnam War Draft Lottery that changed American lives. December 1, 1969, brought one of the most consequential live broadcasts in American history. CBS cameras were positioned at the Selective Service Headquarters in Washington, D.C. for an event that would determine the fates of young men across the country. The Vietnam War Draft Lottery represented the first time since World War II that random selection would decide who would be sent to fight. The process was brutally simple, yet impossibly complex in its implications. Birth dates were written on slips of paper and placed in a large drum. One by one, dates were pulled and matched with letters of the alphabet to create draft order numbers. If your birthday came up early, you were almost certainly going to Vietnam. If it came up late, you might avoid the war entirely. The randomness was the point, and the horror. Young men watching had no control over their fate. Their futures depended entirely on which piece of paper got pulled from that drum. CBS broadcast the entire proceedings live, allowing millions to watch as destiny was assigned through pure chance. Families gathered around televisions, hoping their sons' birthdays would be called late in the sequence. The atmosphere was tense and surreal. Announcers read out dates in measured tones, while knowing each number represented lives that would be forever altered. Some young men would die in the jungles of Southeast Asia because of what happened in that room. Others would survive physically, but carry psychological scars for decades. The broadcast captured the mechanical, bureaucratic nature of how nations send young people to war. There was no glory in the lottery, just the cold reality of random selection. Historical footage of the event remains powerful today. Watching it decades later, knowing how the Vietnam War unfolded, adds layers of tragic irony to the proceedings. The broadcast documented a moment when American society confronted the true cost of the conflict. It showed how war isn't about heroes and villains, but about young lives interrupted by decisions made in rooms like this one. The draft lottery broadcast stands as one of the most important pieces of television history, not for entertainment value, but for its raw documentation of how chance and politics intersect to shape individual destinies.
Number 6. The eerie man behind Senator Grassley's congressional hearing. February 2023 brought one of the strangest moments in congressional broadcast history. During a House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing about federal overreach, Senator Chuck Grassley delivered his testimony for 15 minutes. But nobody was paying attention to his words. All eyes were fixed on the man sitting directly behind him. This spectacled individual sat completely motionless, staring directly into the camera with an expression that could only be described as robotic. His blinking pattern was disturbingly slow, almost mechanical in its timing. At one point during the broadcast, he closed one eye while keeping the other open, creating an image that sent chills through viewers watching at home. Social media exploded immediately. People started analyzing every frame of the footage. Some suggested he was a government plant, testing psychological tactics. Others joked about malfunctioning androids infiltrating Congress. The man's identity remained a mystery for days. Nobody could confirm if he was a congressional aide, a security officer, or just someone who wandered into the wrong seat. His perfectly still posture defied normal human behavior. Most people shift, move, or show some sign of life during a 15-minute period. This individual remained frozen like a statue. His direct camera stare suggested awareness of being filmed, yet he never broke character. The internet created countless memes from the footage. Theories ranged from the plausible to the absurd. Some claimed he was practicing meditation techniques. Others insisted on more sinister explanations involving mind control or surveillance operations. Congressional hearings are typically boring affairs, but this one became a viral sensation purely because of one man's unsettling presence. The incident highlighted how background elements in live broadcasts can sometimes become more compelling than the intended content. Number 5. Dale Earnhardt's fatal crash at Daytona 500. February 18, 2001, the last lap of the Daytona 500 was unfolding with intense competition. Dale Earnhardt, one of NASCAR's biggest legends, was running third behind his son Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip, both driving for Earnhardt's racing team. As the cars approached Turn 4, Sterling Marlin's vehicle made contact with Earnhardt's famous number 3 Chevrolet. The bump sent Earnhardt's car up the track, where it was hit again by Ken Schrader's vehicle. Earnhardt's car then shot straight into the concrete wall at high speed. The impact looked bad, but not necessarily worse than many crashes NASCAR fans had seen before. Earnhardt's car came to rest on the infield grass. Safety crews rushed over, while Michael Waltrip crossed the finish line to win the race. Television cameras captured the entire sequence from multiple angles. At first, announcers discussed the crash as they would any other incident, expecting Earnhardt to eventually climb out of the car. But he didn't move. Ken Schrader, who had hit Earnhardt's car, climbed out and looked into Earnhardt's window. His immediate reaction and the way he quickly signaled for medical help suggested something was seriously wrong. Earnhardt had suffered a basilar skull fracture, a specific type of head injury that was killing NASCAR drivers at an alarming rate. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The racing world was devastated. Dale Earnhardt wasn't just any driver. He was a 7-time Winston Cup champion, tied with Richard Petty for the most championships in NASCAR history. His death on live television during NASCAR's biggest race sent shockwaves through the sport. The broadcast of his fatal crash forced NASCAR to make major safety improvements. They mandated the HANDS device, a head and neck support system that prevents basilar skull fractures. Safer barrier walls were installed at tracks. These changes have saved numerous lives since 2001. Earnhardt's death, broadcast to millions, became a catalyst for making auto racing significantly safer. Number 4. The creepy doll that terrorized multiple British families. ITV's This Morning featured what seemed like a typical haunted object story. A couple appeared on the show to discuss a China doll they purchased from a second-hand shop. The doll looked innocent enough, a vintage piece with delicate features and period clothing. But according to the couple, bringing it home triggered a series of disturbing events. Fire alarms would activate without smoke or fire present. The husband showed viewers mysterious scratches that appeared on his legs and arms, deep enough to draw blood but with no explanation for their origin. He described burning sensations that preceded the scratches appearing on his skin. The hosts listened with polite skepticism, the kind of measured doubt that morning show personalities use when dealing with paranormal claims. Then something happened live on air that changed everyone's tone. The doll, which had been sitting motionless in a chair throughout the interview, appeared to rock slightly. The movement was subtle but visible to viewers at home. Camera operators zoomed in, trying to capture what they were seeing. The studio fell silent as everyone stared at the doll. No one could identify any mechanism or draft that would cause such movement. The couple insisted they had touched nothing. Production staff checked for vibrations or equipment interference. Nothing explained what the cameras had recorded. Weeks later, the show brought the doll back with a new owner. This second family reported identical experiences with fire alarms, scratches, and unexplained phenomena. They too wanted to get rid of the cursed object. The doll had apparently been passed between several families, each experiencing the same pattern of disturbing events. Paranormal experts examined it and found nothing unusual about its construction. Yet the pattern of incidents continued with each new owner. The broadcast raised questions about whether certain objects can somehow retain or attract negative energy. Skeptics argued about suggestion and confirmation bias, but multiple families reporting identical experiences suggested something beyond mere coincidence. The doll's story became one of the most compelling cases of supposedly haunted objects documented on British television.
Number 3. Thai model's alleged spirit possession during talk show. Thai folklore includes stories of Pop, a malevolent spirit known for craving animal blood and human flesh. In 2016, model Thipawan Pui Chapong appeared on a popular talk show claiming this spirit had possessed her body. The interview started normally enough, with standard questions about her modeling career and personal life. Then, Pui's behavior shifted dramatically. She began muttering in a voice that didn't sound like her own. Her eyes took on a distant, unfocused quality. The host tried to continue with questions, but Pui's responses became increasingly incoherent. Suddenly, she started screaming at a volume and intensity that shocked everyone in the studio. The audience reacted with gasps and nervous laughter, unsure if this was part of a planned performance or a genuine medical emergency. Pui's body language changed completely. She moved with jerky, unnatural motions. Her facial expressions cycled through emotions too quickly to be intentional acting. The production crew kept cameras rolling, capturing every moment of the escalating situation. Security staff moved closer, ready to intervene if necessary. Other guests on the show backed away from her, visibly uncomfortable with the display. The screaming continued for several minutes, mixed with phrases in Thai that referenced the Pop spirit's characteristics. Medical professionals watching at home later commented that her symptoms didn't match any standard psychiatric condition. Yet skeptics pointed out the convenient timing of the possession occurring during a live television broadcast. Pui's career actually benefited from the incident, bringing her more attention than any modeling campaign could have achieved. Critics accused her of staging the entire event for publicity. Believers insisted no one could fake such authentic signs of spiritual disturbance. The talk show episode became one of the most